texting has done is it's taken us to even a further place. We've gone from even these short forms till we've created things like emojis. And we've boiled all these things down so that if I want to communicate something about someone, I don't even have to tell someone the experience I had with that person. I just have to say, so-and-so is a, and I can attach the word to it, and the person you're talking to knows exactly what you're talking about, can imagine the scenario. And if you don't know what I'm talking about things like that person is a troll. Online troll means someone who stalks you for the purpose of writing stuff in there that's just going to agitate you. They're trolling me. You don't even need to explain it. You say the word troll, people know. Other things like they're a lurker. It means they're always around, but they never contribute. They just lurk. In Facebook language, that's called creeping. You creep someone's wall. You creep their Facebook. What did you do today? I spent the day creeping. What? Yeah, I just visited 1,000 people I've never known before, but I know everything about them now on Facebook. I creep them. I creep their Facebook page. We also say things like, of course we have the hashtag, and hashtag has its own understanding, but then you hashtag something else, it creates this whole different understanding, and we hashtag things like hashtag goals. I made breakfast this morning, hashtag goals. Everybody knows when you say that, it means you accomplished a life purpose. You were able to hard-boil an egg, hashtag goals. And if you're old, you hashtag life goals. If you're young, you just have to hashtag goals and everybody knows what you mean. Things like when it used to say, I'm going to go hang out with my friends, we don't say that anymore. We say things like my squad. Right? Or even if you're even a little older, things like my tribe. It's a thing, Keith. It's a thing. I know your eyes and your eyebrows give it away, but it's a thing. It's my tribe. That communicates this whole thing that those are the people you relate to the most, whether they're your family or not, they're just my tribe. There's books written all over it, all about it. And then, this is a little older, but I want to highlight it for you because it speaks to the longing in the hearts and minds of the people of our culture. We created this 4-letter word that sounds ridiculous, but it communicated something a few years ago, and it was this word YOLO. Anybody know what it means? You only live once. YOLO. And everybody was hashtagging YOLO. You only live once. And what did it mean? It meant take the risk, jump out of the boat, do it now, seize the moment, be everything you were created to be. YOLO. Ouch. YOLO, you only live once. And it grabbed our culture by the scruff of the neck and said, YOLO, live your only once life that you can live. You only live once, live it. Live it to the hilt. Accomplish everything you can be and do. YOLO. And YOLO gave birth to something else that's creeped into our society that I believe is exactly what our culture is today. It's another 4-letter word that says FOMO, fear of missing out. Fear of missing out, it's this word. How many have heard this word before? Put your hand up. Come on. It's very popular. It's not necessarily something people hashtag. It's actually become a diagnosed thing. FOMO. We live in this culture that YOLO bred. You got to live your life. You only get one life, so make the most of your life. Make it that even though I'm here with you and I'm supposed to be here, I am on my phone checking out what I'm missing. That's happening at the exact same time that I'm here. And even though I'm here, I'm not talking necessarily at Maple Community Church, I'm talking wherever. You're at this birthday party, you're at this sporting event, you're at this family thing, you're at work. Somewhere you're missing out. It's because we have these devices that help us see everything else that everyone is doing at the exact same time we're doing something else. And we live in this place going, I can't believe what I'm missing out over there, even though I want to be here too. See, we have this whole culture. Let me say this to you. It's not a teenage phenomenon. It's a cultural phenomenon. We as adults have a fear of missing out. Because we want to be a part of the next greatest thing. We want to be part of the thing that's mattering right now. We want to be in on it. We want to be part of it. And it's an awful feeling that we've come to in our culture where we sit down and we go, I'm here and I wanted to be here and I chose to be here, but something better is going over there. It diminishes everything we are in the moment for what we wish we could be or were or who someone else is. And it leads this comparison trap, and it's called fear of missing out. We're exposed to so much information and choice in these days that we live. So many different options that it's so easy to always feel like we missed out. Our culture has almost hardwired us now to not be content with anything we just experienced or are experiencing. Our culture is almost hardwiring us to always feel like we're not getting the best that could be out there. We almost live in this place where no matter what we think or feel, we will always think or feel that what I'm experiencing right now is not as much as what it could be somewhere. I don't know what that other thing is, but there must be something out there that's better than this right now, no matter what. And it leads to a culture that is completely discontented. We have a culture that is not content with the size of their house or value of their car. We have a culture that's not contented with the size of their salary or the grade they get at school. We have a culture that's not contented with the kind of friends they have. We have a culture that's not contented with the kind of family they have. We have a culture that's not contented with anything that's going on. And we live in this constant state of discontentment, thinking that there must be something better out there. And I'm afraid, and it paralyzes us. It's actually a diagnosed thing now that it's exploding all over, especially the Western world. People are paralyzed and they either can't make decisions and they're frozen because they're afraid if I choose to go over here, I might miss something else. I have no idea what else is going on, but I might miss something else that might happen while I chose to go over there. So I'm going to sit here, and then they're paralyzed and they sink into depression and crazy anxieties because then they end up missing out on everything. Because there could always be the chance that if I went there, I'd miss out on something else. I don't know what's happening else out there, but I might. Or, not only does it lead to paralyzation and making no choices, it leads to bad choices. Because then I choose what I'm fearful of missing out on rather than what's healthy for me. And I make a poor choice in life, or a poor choice in my day, or a poor choice in my academics, or in my business, or in my job, or in my family. I make a poor choice because it's all about I'm afraid of missing out the big thing. And even if that big thing is horrible for me and terrible for me, I want to be a part of it. So I'm going to make a bad choice and jump on board with that ship, even though it's unhealthy for me. Because we've almost hardwired our culture to be about themselves, to be about us. One of the things counselors would tell you, the number one thing they tell people who come in with anxiety and depression is put your phone away. Get rid of your phone. And if you can't do that, they say delete all social media accounts. Or at least delete the apps off your phone. You know why? Because you know what this does? You know how I know? Because I know. Because this means you go home after church, and you got to understand in my world, all my buddies, all my friends pastor churches. And I see what they did in their church. Wow. That was awesome. It'd be amazing to be a part of their church. Wow, sounds like that's a killer idea. Wow. Oh. And before you know it, what you are and what you have is nowhere near as good as what they are and what they've shown you they have. The problem is, said it before, it's not original to me. We know our cutting room floor, and we know that all we do is put our highlights of our life on social media. And we Photoshop the pictures to make sure our neck's skinnier and our tire roll around the belly's gone a little bit. Or we angle did you know that a selfie, did you know that the camera on the front of your phone, did you know that it's hardwired by every phone in the world that it makes you look skinnier than the camera on the opposite side? Did you know that? Did you know that every selfie, when you do this, intentionally, the lens of the camera intentionally makes you look thinner? That's why when you use you're going, Never again are you're going to say, hey, can you take a picture? No, turn it around. I want to see the screen. That's why you should never usually take a selfie, take it from up high like this, because it makes you look like you have this little pinhead. Because it thins you out. Why? Because we live in a culture hardwired about itself. Hardwired about me. Hardwired about my preferences, my desires. What's going to make me more happy? What's going to make me more money? What's going to make me better? Now let me say it. Is it wrong to be better? No. That's a good thing. Is it wrong to have more money or want more money? No. Not in the least. Until those things become your motivation across the board. I want to challenge you today, so I don't have a whole bunch of time. I want to challenge you today with a radical perspective. Some of you in the room, you've heard it before. Some of you have read it in the Bible. Some of you would say that I live that way. Wonderful. But I believe that, not that I live it perfectly, not that I have it down pat, I know it, I try to live it, I'm working my best at it, but I've discovered the absolute key and answer to YOLO and FOMO. I've discovered the secret to defeating your FOMO issue, your fear of missing out issue. I've discovered the secret to fulfilling your YOLO desire, your you only live once desire. I've discovered the secret. The truth is, it's not a secret. It's absolutely out in plain view, but I want to say this, it's exceptionally difficult. It's crazy simple, but exceptionally hard. As human beings, do you know what we do? We love easy, even if it's complicated. That's why we love IKEA. Crazy complicated, but easier than building it yourself. So we would rather take complicated as long as it's easy than simple if it's hard. Do you know how I know that? Because it's stamped on my backside. Because I'm a human being. Because every human being would rather do something easy, even though it's complicated, than do something simple if it's hard. So I'm going to give you a simple truth today. It's not mine. Simple, but it's really hard. Really hard. And if you came to Maple Community Church this morning thinking you were going to hear, I'm going to get to go and I'm going to leave and I'm just going to feel rosy and bubbles and puppies and clouds and blue skies, you can leave that way, absolutely no problem. But you're going to have to walk through a tough message. Is that okay? For a second. Do you want to know what the secret is to conquering your FOMO fear and fulfilling your YOLO desire? It's discovering a life mission in Jesus Christ. Discovering a life mission in Jesus Christ. Oh, that doesn't sound tough, Pastor Jay. That sounds pretty cool. I want a life mission. That sounds great. I'd love a life mission. Well, do you have a life mission? I'm talking about a mission that sits above all the rest. See, I believe we all have missions. Like I have a mission. One of my missions is to be a good, godly father at Bethany. One of my missions is to be a good, godly pastor for Maple Community Church. Those are some of my missions, but none of them are as important as my life's mission. You see, just because something's important doesn't mean it's most important. And we have to identify the things that are the thing that is most important. And so if you don't have a life mission this morning, with very much respect, I want to say to you, I'm going to offer you a life mission today. I'm going to give you a life mission that I know if you buy into it, I guarantee you, your life will change today. It will change literally from the moment you accept it and walk out this building today. Your life will change. Guarantee you. Will it change for the better in every moment? No. Because it's simple, but it's hard. Does it mean you're not going to have to go through garbage? Nope. You're going to have to walk through garbage like everybody else. You're going to have to go through difficult things. You're going to have people turn their back on you. You're going to have people say bad things about you. You're going to have people throw you under the bus. But when you have a life mission, it makes all those things a little bit further down here. Because a life mission in Jesus Christ becomes your compass point. It becomes your North Star. It becomes the thing that helps you overcome all the other things. So what is that life mission? Jason, what's that life mission? Well, here it is. We're going to do a 6-week series starting today on Connect and Serve. See them at the front. Connect and Serve. Going to give you a quick thought right now, and then the next 4 weeks we're going to talk about all 4 of those things. You see them 2 over here and 2 over here. And we're going to make them very practical over the next 4 weeks. So this is what I'm going to start. This is what I told our staff team. I'm going to start today talking about the airplane view over here. And we're going to end week 6 talking about an airplane view here. But in the middle, we're going to take it right down like this to the practical, everyday understanding of how you actually do this. And I want to make it like a pot, like a bowl, with the 2 handles of the great mission sitting up top. And then down below, this is how you do it. And this is how you fill up your life's mission so that you can please God and you can live a contented life that understands where you're going and why you're going there. So here's the secret. Here's the life mission. You got to die to yourself and live for Jesus. You got to die to yourself and live for Jesus. You have to die to yourself. See, that's the really hard part. Living for Jesus, that's the really hard part. It's all hard. It's not easy. It's not simple. It's wonderful, but it's not simple. It's not easy. It's crazy simple, but it's hard. Die to yourself, live for Jesus. Die to yourself, live for Jesus. You see, here's the reason. Some of you in here are going, well, what, really? I came to church today, I was hoping to be built up and encouraged, and pastor said I got to die to myself. I got to kill myself. That's not very encouraging, Jason. Well, give me a few minutes. I'll bring it around. See, because here's the problem. If we don't die to ourselves, we only have 2 other choices. And the first choice is found by only a few people in the world. And I'm not talking about Christians. I'm talking every person that's ever lived. There's only 2 options if you don't die to yourself. There's only 2. The first one is you live for others. And that's reserved for only the best of us. The best people who have ever lived, they managed to be able to live for other people. And this is the first option. If you don't die to yourself, you'll first, if you're the best of all the people that's ever lived, you'll live for other people. But here's the problem. That ends up being completely empty because eventually if you're someone who just lives for your kids, eventually your kids don't live for you anymore, and then you're left empty. Because eventually they'll start to live for themselves. If all you do is live for others, then guess what? You can't take others with you when you die. You're left empty. Empty. And the second choice isn't for the best of us, it's for the rest of us. And that's to live for yourself. If we don't discover what it is to die to ourselves, we only have 2 other options. To live for others, which is the best of us, and you'll still end up living empty because eventually other people will live for themselves. So you'll be left out in the cold. You'll still be left empty. Or the other option is that you'll live for yourself. And if you live for yourself, guess what? You may gain a lot of money, a lot of fame, a lot of fortune. None of it changes where you die, where you go when you die. None of the stuff. But if you can discover what it is to die to yourself, all of a sudden, God's world opens up for you. All of a sudden, God's promises open up for you. All of a sudden, everything changes. It's not easy, but it's simple. Really quickly, there's this story in the Bible. I'm going to close with this. I'm just going to finish, drive the point home. There's a story in the Bible where Jesus, he's teaching all these people. And it's this encounter he has with these really religious people. And they had learned to live for rules. Their chief mission was to live for rules. That's all they wanted to do. lived for rules, and made sure all the important things were lined up. Their mission in life was rules and to make sure other people obeyed those rules. They lived to obey rules. They lived for rules. That was the important thing. There was nothing else except they missed the most important thing because they made rules the important thing. At the same time, Jesus is coming through. He's healing all these people. He's raising people from the dead. He's feeding thousands of people at a time with just a few pieces of food. He's doing all this crazy stuff, and he's challenging all their rules that they live by. So they were living by rules, and Jesus was coming along, and his life was breaking all the rules they were living for. They were living by rules, and Jesus came along and broke every rule they were living by. He shattered them all. And basically told them all, you're blowing it. The rules, you're missing it. The rules aren't the mission. And he comes along, and in this context, this is the first thing Jesus says, because this is what's happening. They are trying to force people to live by the rules. Jesus comes along, breaks the rules they're living by, and so you know what they do? They devise this plot to take his life. Ironic. They're trying to live by rules that they think will give them eternal life. Jesus breaks all their rules, and so they want to take his life. It's amazing what happens when you're deceived. Deception will always cause you to see the opposite of what really is. Every time. Because Satan, all he is a counterfeit. And deception comes from him. And anytime we end up getting deceived, we always see the opposite of what is true. Every time. And they saw the opposite of what was true. And Jesus comes along in this context, and this is what he says from Mark chapter 8. Calls the crowd to join his disciples. The religious people were there. He says, if any of you wants to be my follower, you must give up. Anybody wants to be my follower, you must give up your selfish ambition, shoulder your cross, and follow me. That made sense to them because they were Jews living under Roman occupation, and their favorite way to kill people and torture people was to crucify them. So when Jesus said, you got to give up your selfish ambition, pick up your cross, and follow me, they understood, whoa, this is not an easy thing. This is going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be really difficult. Simple, pick up your cross. Really hard. Then he said this, if you try, and he's looking at these religious people who are trying to earn life by all the rules. He says, if you try and keep your life for yourself, you're going to lose it. But if you give up your life and die to yourself, for my sake and for the sake of the good news, which is the message of Jesus, you will then save it. For what good does it do a person if they gain the whole world and they lose their soul? Jesus looks at crazy religious people and a whole bunch of regular people. He says, here's the message. Die to yourself. Die to yourself. Die to yourself. Because the ironic thing is, if you try and keep your life, you will be forced to forfeit it. But if you choose to give your life away, you will find life. If you choose to keep it, you will be forced to forfeit it. But if you choose to give it away, you will be granted your life in Jesus. Jesus was looking over this vast crowd filled with his friends and religious leaders who understood rules after rules after rules after rules. And Jesus looked at them and he said, listen, if you really want to follow me, you're going to have to die to yourself and pick up a cross that's going to be hard to carry. And here's the deal. It means dying to yourself. Putting away your own selfish ambition, picking up my Father's heart and listening to what I instruct you to do and living for that. Super hard. Super simple. Crazy hard. Crazy simple. Die to yourself. It means when your enemy abuses you, you don't abuse them back. It means you pray for them. Crazy hard. Super simple. Die to yourself. In fact, a couple days later, Jesus is with his disciples. And it doesn't say this. This is how I picture it. So I'm taking some creative license here. God will forgive me if I miss it, but he understands my heart. I have this picture of Jesus outside of one of the towns. And he's sitting under a tree because it's hot out. And all his disciples, they're with him. And they're not getting it. And they're fighting over who's going to be greatest. He just finished telling them a few days ago, you got to die to yourself, guys. Give up your ambition. Die to yourself. Put that in the grave and live for me. And they get all fussy about who's going to be best and who should be better. And Jesus goes, guys, seriously, honest, just get over here and sit down. And he looks at them all in Mark chapter 12. We were just in Mark chapter 8. He looks at them all just a couple days later in Mark chapter 8. He looks and he goes, guys, really, you're not getting this? He says this, those who want to be first must be the very last, the servant of all. And in that same story, there's kids running around. He reaches up, grabs one of the kids, sticks them on his knee, and says, guys, listen, if you don't learn to come to me like a little child, you're going to miss it all. You're going to miss it all. Because you're not dying to yourself. You're still stuck on your own way. You're still stuck on trying to make sure you get the title, and you get the money, and you get the recognition, and you get the seat beside me. You're still stuck in the old way of thinking it's about you. It's not about you. It's about me in you. It's not about you living it on your own. It's about me living through you and you living for me. It's a hard life. It's a hard message, but it's crazy simple. Well, how do you do that? If the mission is to die to yourself, if that's the core mission, to die to yourself and live for Jesus, how do you do that? What's that look like? How do I make that happen? You know, because it's really easy to say, oh, you just put it together. Well, how do I do that? You got to tell me how. Tell me how. I don't know how. How? Fast forward a little while. Mark chapter 12, 4 chapters later. It's the week of Passover. The week of Passover is what we call Easter as Christians. Passover was the week the Jews called Passover, and basically the same thing in the sense of what we celebrate. But the Jewish people, it went back to when they were in captivity in Egypt under Pharaoh 1,000 years before. And they were in captivity with the Egyptians, and Pharaoh wanted to kill them all. And God told Moses, take some blood of a lamb, put it on the doorposts of the house. And when I send the death angel over tonight, any house that's got blood on the doorposts, nobody's going to be harmed in their house. And any house that doesn't have blood on the doorposts, their firstborn child is going to die. And God sent the death angel, and all the Jews put the blood of a lamb on their doorposts, calling it the Feast of Passover, because the death angel passed over their home. And it's this week, Passover, that Jesus is now in Mark chapter 12. He's back in Jerusalem with all these religious leaders, and they're watching the rules. Do we still get to judge you? And they just plot afoot in the background that you're raising people from the dead. We're going to kill you. We're going to steal your life. We're going to shut you up for good because you're breaking all our rules. You're messing up our position. You're messing up our power. You're wrecking our influence because everybody wants to hear from you because we don't understand what you have. What we have, we think is the keys to eternal life. It's the rules, and you're coming and breaking everything. How dare you? So we're going to plot to kill you. And it's in this whole context that Jesus now comes in Mark chapter 12. He comes back to his disciples. Same people, same religious leaders who he said, listen, if you want to follow me, you got to die to yourself. Pick up your cross, die to yourself, follow me. Same people. Still fighting over all the same stuff, over all the rules. Not dying to themselves. And Jesus comes up, and he's been teaching in the temple courts, and one of the religious leaders was there. And Mark chapter 12 tells us what happened. It says, one of the religious leaders of the law was standing there listening to the debate between Jesus and the people. And he realized that Jesus had actually answered this question really well. He was like, that was really great. And so he looks at Jesus. Catch this. Again, they have made the rules the most important, and they're trying to catch Jesus in his problems. And Jesus has boiled it down. What's the most important thing? Die to yourself and live for me. What's the most? He's told them over and over and over and over. This is the goal. And they're still not getting it because they still think that what they believe is the highest. So they're trying to trick him. And this religious leader says, Jesus, Rabboni, of all the commandments, which is the most important? And Jesus, which I have on my ring, he repeats the Jewish Shema, which Jews repeat twice a day. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. They pray it and repeat it twice a day. I have it in Hebrew. I got it last time I was in Israel. It's on my ring here. And he quotes that, basically saying, listen, you want to know what's most important? Then I'm going to quote for you the verse that you pray every day twice. It's the most important thing you say twice a day. And they go, oh, so this is really important. And he says, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. Then he says, here's the first one. You want to know what the most important thing is? Love Lord God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Number 2 is equal to number 1. Love Lord God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, which means love God with everything you think, with everything you see, with everything you do, with everything you say, with everything you feel, with everything. Love God with everything you are, not just everything you have, with everything you have, with everything you are, with everything you think, with everything you say, with everything you do, everywhere you go. Love God with everything. And then with everything, love others. Love God with everything you are, and then with everything, love others. Love God with everything you are, and then with everything, love others. Love God with everything you are, and then with everything, love others. That's how you die to yourself and live for me. That's how. You want to know how to die to yourself? I want to know how to die to myself. Love God with everything I am and everything I do, and love others. That's how I live the mission of dying to myself and living for Christ. That's how I do the mission. That's how. For us at our church here, we've adopted 2 words. You see them at the front, connect and serve. There are millions of different ways. Churches have them all over. Different ways you can say the same thing. Love God and love others. Same spirit, different words. We've chosen connect and serve. I want to help you understand something, and this is where we're going for the next 5 weeks. We've chosen connect and serve. It means connect with God, start a relationship with God, continue a relationship with God. It means connect with others. It is to serve Him as well. Not just know who He is, not just know that He is. Catch this, not just feel and recognize His presence. We want to understand that there's a deeper sense to that, and that's serving God. And then the same is true with people. You can know someone and not serve them. And serve God and others with everything you have and everything you are. Connect and serve. It's not better. It's just words that we feel communicate in our culture and our society today. All churches across the world have different words they use. That's just the words we've chosen. They're not more holy. They're not less holy. They're just our way of doing it. Our way of communicating it. And here's the key. I need you to understand this. I've used the word crazy a lot today. This is super important. This is not about the organization of Maple Community Church. I want to call you today to adopting a life mission, if you don't have it, of connect and serve as a person, not just as a church. If you don't have a life mission that you get up every morning and it drives you, then adopt this one. Make it yours, because you're going to fit in here even better. Make it yours. Don't just make it about what you do when you come to Maple Community Church or involved in the official events that we do. Make it your mission that every day you will connect with God somehow, and every day you will serve God somehow, some way, and every day you will connect with someone intentionally, and every day you'll serve someone intentionally, whether it's your son or daughter, your neighbor, your coworker, your employee, your boss, your friend, the person at school, your professor, your teacher, the gas station attendant, the grocery store clerk, the stock boy or stock girl at the grocery store. Make this your mission. If you don't have something to live for, then live for this mission. Die to yourself and come alive to connecting and serving with God and others. Come alive to it. Make it your mission that every day you connect and serve God and others. Make it your mission. Die to yourself That's how you die to yourself and you come alive. You see, the problem is we've given into the lie of grabbing hold of the world's mission. If you were to sit and watch TV with me and my daughter, 7 years old in April, less than a month, she's going to be 7. I can't believe it. Every commercial, McDonald's comes on. Daddy, can we go to McDonald's? Kids' toy comes on. Daddy, can I have that toy? A diet program. Daddy, that looks fun. A Rogaine commercial. Daddy, can I have some Rogaine? Honey, you don't need to grow hair in your... Just stop. Enough. Listen. We might not be 7, but we do the exact same thing. It just might not be the commercials. We walk around and we see the commercial of that person's life and go, I want their house. I want that car. I want that kind of life. I want that spouse. I want that. I want that job. I want that amount of money. It might not be a commercial and we might not be 7, but we've given into the lie and we've grabbed a hold of, many of us, the world's mission, and it sells it to you every day. It sells it to you every day and every moment. And every time you open up your phone, every 5th image is a new ad that's totally tailored to you somehow, that it's been listening to your conversation in the background. It's tailored to what you just talked about, and it's letting you know, yes, feed your desire, and Jesus to yourself, live for me, because when you live for me, you'll discover real life. You'll come alive really. You'll discover what it is to have life overflowing and filled with joy. Not easy, not just bacon puppies and bubbles and clouds and blue skies. You're going to have to go through stuff, but it's going to be hard, but you'll have a real, full, filled, fearless life. Die to yourself. Come alive to me. Come alive to the mission, so that you don't have to live with FOMO, or you don't have to coin your life with YOLO. You can say, I've died to myself and I've come alive in Jesus Christ, and I'm connecting with Him and connecting with them and serving Him and serving them. And in that He's glorified and I am grown and made better and His kingdom is advanced, because that's what God calls us to. It's a tough message. It's a simple message, but it's the truth of a life mission given to Jesus Christ that says, I lay my life down so that I can take up the life of Jesus Christ. Wow, Pastor. Whew. I think I should have stayed home today. Sounds like you're losing your voice a little bit. Yeah. See, I'm not preaching it at you. I'm preaching it to me. It just so happens that in preaching it to me, you get to hear it too. There's this story. I'm not going to show the video. Close with this. There's this story.